his startup, realized I was kind of a different guy and no one bet on me. So I figured I'm going to go bet on people. And my whole lens was I'm going to pick people, not technology. So that's how it came to be.
Paige, coffee, tea, or something else? What fuels your mornings?
Oh, dude, it's always coffee. It's nonstop coffee.
Non-stop. All right. So it fuels your
I
day.
love it. I'm just like, it's just black coffee too. When I grew up with my dad, he used to do a little cream, sugar, but after the Marine Corps, it's just straight black coffee all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a black coffee guy as well. When you were a kid, what did you think you'd do when you grew up?
Uh, you know, at one point, my dad asked me, and I said Indiana Jones, and I almost got that job. I ended up in the Marine Corps, and then wandered around the world doing work for the intelligence community, and built a company, but that worked in Africa and Asia. But I actually walked the walls of Babylon while I was in
Oh,
Iraq.
wow.
So yeah, but originally I was like really in the idea of Indiana Jones, and I wanted to be a space shuttle commander. And now I settled for VC.
Yeah. I mean, there's some dots there to connect for sure, for sure. What's one technology that you can't live without?
Oh, I would say AirPods, but the latest editions are so disappointing.
Not
But
after
my
this
life,
morning.
it just, they have been so good. And then like the last year, I got these brand new ones that do the auto translate. And that's awesome. They do auto translate, but they can't seem to figure out how to turn both AirPods on at the same time. But
Yeah,
I'm like, the way I run my life is I keep half my day, at least half my day, completely unscheduled so that I can just walk and talk. And I dial my founders, I dial my partners, I call up like I just call up random people to learn things. So I keep half my day open, and I cannot sit in an office. So I must walk around and put in AirPods to get my job done.
You're the first person that said AirPods. And the reason I was laughing so hard for the listeners is we had a situation before we started recording with these AirPods. But yeah, they are a magical piece of technology. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'll tell you,
La-
granola is quickly moving up. Granola is
yeah,
really moving fast for me.
really, really.
Yeah.
Why is that?
If they
What
could
what are you
just,
seeing?
I mean, have you ever used granola for recording your
No, not
meetings?
yet.
Oh, I mean, I
I
use it
use
for our whole
Fireflies.
team. Oh yeah, Firefly's good
Yeah,
too. We
yeah.
but we use it for the whole team, and we use it for meetings, for calls. The desktop version is great, but my whole lens is mobile, so their mobile app is a literal dumpster fire. It is such a bag of
Really.
shit. I love their core product. It lets you record up to 6-hour meetings. You can ask questions using the AI. It's really good. But then you go to the mobile app and you're like, did I just go back 100 years in technology life? But
It's that bad.
it's I'm exaggerating, but it is a very poor experience compared to how good the desktop experience is.
Interesting. Well, you'd hope they'd fix that soon because we do so
Yeah,
much on our
I
mobiles.
really
Yeah.
hope you have tons of granola engineers that listen to your podcast who just start hammering away at that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all they have to do is get a couple of AI agents working, and I think that mobile app's going to be genius.
So true. Last one of the icebreakers. If you can fast forward 10 years and see one impact that your work's made on the world, what do you want that to be?
I really hope that the defense, the national security technologies that we invest in protect the democracy, the global democracy that we have today. That's the number one thing I do outside of just trying to make money for my LPs is to really invest in the fundamental technologies that keep China, Russia, Iran, and other threats at bay for as long as we can.
Nice. Okay. Well, welcome to Machine Minds, everyone. I'm your host, Greg Terusian, founder of Samson Rose, your robotics talent search partner. And on today's episode, I'm joined by Paige Craig, managing partner and founder of Outlander VC. Thanks for being on the show today, Paige.
Thank you.
Been a while coming, so I'm glad that we got this scheduled finally. Let's jump into it. So I want to go back and set the stage for our listeners because you've got this pretty unconventional path into venture. Can you share, you touched a little bit on it already, but share a bit more about your background before founding Outlander?
Sure. Yeah. I had a little bit of a harder upbringing. My dad had unusual background doing unusual work for the government, and he kind of wandered the country with my mom, and we were homeless until fifth grade. living out of cars and abandoned properties and rivers. But really not that sad. Like my dad was pretty involved in my life, making me think about studying and being smart and playing sports. We just grew up dirt poor. And then I eventually got recruited into West Point. I went to the Marine Corps, the intelligence community. And the big break for me was doing a startup. I had an idea in 2003 to privatize intelligence. And I essentially told my bosses in the government I was going to get my government job, give up that safety, give up that money, and well, not much money, but I was going to give up that fun and that safety to go do this startup. And I couldn't find a single VC that believed in my idea. And my idea was I wanted to build technology that really focused on human intelligence and the collection of information from people at the forward edge of the battlefield. And so that was my passion. I ended up expanding that business over 5 years into several $100 million of contracts, completely bootstrapped. I never raised a dollar from VC. So I had to make the business profitable. And within that first year, I did about $30 million of business, self-funded it, originally with a loan from Navy Federal Credit Union and 5 credit cards. And I was like, hey, I'm going to burn the boats at the beach and just be all in. So I did that, had a great outcome, worked with great people, and made a ton of mistakes. And I really wish, I wish I'd had a great investor. I wish I had a great board. But I really just had myself and the people I hired. So quickly after that, I became a VC. I became a VC by becoming an angel first. And a lot of that is thanks to Eric Chin and Matt Biggie, who are now at Crosslink. But they were the first guys to open my eyes to the opportunity to be an angel. And since then, I'm on my 4th fund. We're just starting to invest out of our 4th fund, $300 million early stage pre-seed fund with a bunch of capital reserve to double down on our best companies. But that was my journey as I did a startup, realized I was kind of a different guy and no one bet on me. So I figured I'm going to go bet on people. And my whole lens was I'm going to pick people, not technology. And so that's how it came to be.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm curious then, you did the whole founder journey, growth and exit without VC capital, without all of that. But you mentioned you wish you had a good investor. You wish you had like something. So is that what you look for now? People that have like the raw grit and determination to do it alone, but you're just going to come in and be like a multiplier for them, or what do you look for?
Yes, I'm looking to say I'm definitely not looking for myself. I'm looking for so what I did after, it'd be a really horrible lens if all I did was try to pick myself. More so, I became an angel, and I spent a lot of time studying good founders and studying bad founders. And I came into this industry because I didn't come to it from a venture fund. I didn't come to this from finance. I came to this world really from outside the startup ecosystem. And the first question I really started to ask my first year was, what makes a founder great? Like, what is the definition of a great founder? And it's pretty simple in my mind: founders who build multi-billion-dollar companies. I mean, that's really it. We can dumb it down to, are you building multi-billion-dollar companies? And I spent the first 5 years of my journey interviewing thousands and thousands of founders and going through their founder journey. My lens was talking about childhood, talking about your struggle, really getting to know people, right? Not, hey, how's that product work? Tell me your numbers. It was learning about what makes people tick. And I spent the first 5 years dissecting founders, good and bad, and building what we call today the founder framework. It is a 38-point analysis of people organized by vision, intelligence, character, and execution. But we look for founders that over-index on a certain number of these traits. And so we're not looking for a perfect founder. We're also not looking for one type of founder. We're looking for founders that really hit on enough of these traits across the framework that we've built. And it's all based on now 16 years of interviewing people and constantly learning about what makes a great founder. And tech founders are in a really unique domain, right? Just because I say, hey, great founder, you might be a great public company CEO. You might be a great small business founder. I am specifically looking for a startup founder who can go from 0 to billions in about a decade, in a world where you're always under-resourced, where your best friends, your parents are probably going to tell you, no, this is stupid, where the entire world is going to punch you in the face every time you think things are going well. And you're going to have to, you're going to have to figure out how to build this business. And there is no recipe. There is no self-help book. There is no master class. It is always an independent study. It's always a new journey. And you can learn from the history, right? You can learn, but you can't follow. And so you have to become your own founder. You have to set your own journey. But we have seen that there are certain characteristics of great founders that can win in that environment, because that environment is consistent, whether we're talking about 20 years ago or today, or even 15 years in the future with AI. I think the human traits needed to be a great leader and to grow quickly through chaos and get things done will not change in the next 20 years.
Yeah. That's interesting, because you've done a lot and operate in like that chaotic, high pressure environments, and I'm sure that's taught you some pretty unique things about people in general, and then also the founders that you're looking at, because a lot of VCs talk about like pattern recognition, but you guys have that framework, and then your pattern recognition seems to come from like the chaotic, high pressure environment and really understanding people. Yeah. When you think back on your own founder journey, what do you understand now about founders that you think most investors probably don't fully appreciate?
I think so. It depends if most investors are not founders. So most of them don't actually, and most of them are not, even if they were founders or did a startup, they didn't actually feel what it's like to be in a high stake startup. So I'd say most investors don't realize, one, how horribly lonely the job is, truly. And that as a great founder, you can never actually share that. That's why they say leadership is lonely, right? You can feel it, you can experience it. And if you get lucky, you get a couple mentors or even really good friends from outside your startup who you can share with. But the sad truth is it is great and it's incredible. And it's probably the same thing amazing athletes feel and amazing politicians feel, but it's the same thing in military leadership. It's the same thing in founder leadership. Is you have to be willing to bear this great weight of your company and its success and all the complexity, but you can't bitch about it, right? You're the founder, you're the CEO. You don't get to go to your team and say, you know what, life sucks. You know what I'm worried about? I mean, you share a little bit, right? You don't want to be that like cold, hard, unapproachable founder, but you do not get to put all the worries and weaknesses on your team, or you're going to be a horrible leader. But you feel them, right? If you don't feel that stuff, then you're just a moron. So you feel it, you soak it up, and then you make great decisions for your team. I think very few investors, until you've lived that, can actually understand it. And once you know that's true, right, you know that great secret, you can actually connect with founders, no matter how awesome they tell you they're doing, no matter whether it's first round guy or the guy that's about to IPO, no matter how good they are at painting that picture of greatness and leadership, we all know it sucks. And we all know there's some miserable, awful shit going on. And if we can acknowledge that, then we can start to talk about it. So I really like to go in with founders and say, hey, I know we're all playing this game, but let's really connect as humans. I'm not going to judge you for weakness. I'm not going to judge you for failure. I'm not going to judge you for all the bad shit. I need to know that we're going to have an honest dialogue, and I'll tell you stuff about my journey. I'll tell you stuff about me. And if we work together, I want you to call me up and tell me when things are fucked, when things are ugly, because I'm not going to say, man, Greg, why'd you mess that up? You're such a moron. I'm going to say, great. Thanks for telling me. Let's go fix it. How can I help you? All right. We need to be problem solvers with our founders. That is of utmost importance, is to be a problem solver, to be a collaborator, not to be a nagging nuisance to your founders. Like, they have enough people bugging them. So yeah, I don't think enough people realize how horrible, but how great, it's also great, but how horrible and lonely and awful that job can be. And once you recognize that, you can be a great VC who's truly a partner and problem solver.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It sounds like you're a true partner. It's not the, just give me updates or reprimand you for things going wrong or whatever. It's like problem solving together. What have you learned from these mistakes? How can we like battle this and overcome it as a team type mentality, which I think a lot of investors lack, but then also a lot of founders appreciate when they don't have. Like, if they just have the Well, you said leadership is lonely, and if you're a sole founder or if it's just the two of you figuring out first time founders and bearing the weight of the world on your industry, your product, your team, their payroll, everything like that, and still trying to navigate it, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not for everyone. Um, you've backed companies early that went on to become very meaningful businesses. So, what did those early experiences teach you about being right before the market agrees with you? Because you guys do like pretty early stage investments.
We do as early as possible. We will do one person with an idea, no product, no customer, no revenue. We really want to be a founder's first choice when they have nothing done. They're just, and they might even be at the stage of, I'm thinking about leaving this company or leaving this thing and starting a company. We want to be involved in that. So yes, we invest at the conception or even pre-conception stage for your startup. And what I learned is it really is, it's not all, but it's mostly about the people, right? We also look at, are you building in a sector that we know, that we believe is very timely, because timing does matter. I had a great discussion this morning about metagenomics and a deal that brilliant guys. I think for us, though, the timing is just off. But mostly we invest in people. And what we do every few years, we rethink what are the themes, what are the subsectors that we as a partnership really know well and where we believe the world's going. And we find A plus people in spaces that we believe in, but we don't have to think that your business or your product is amazing. It's like A plus people with C. It sounds weird, but A plus people with C minus idea is great. And we acknowledge that because one of the greatest mistakes, or maybe it's one of the worst mistakes we make as VCs often, is thinking that we know how the world pans out, or that we know the best business model, or that we know what CAC, like we often overestimate our ability to pick companies. So what I try to focus in on is pick people, pick the best humans possible that sit in themes and sectors that you believe in, even if your assessment of the business is mediocre. If you find A plus people with mediocre to great ideas, do those deals all day long.
Love that. So it sounds like all that has to be true. I say all because it is pretty complicated, but what has to be true for you guys to write that first check before those other proof points are there, the team and the
Perfect,
industry?
like as near
Yeah.
perfect team as we can find
Yeah.
in with a good, I say good, right? Not great. Because the reason I say good is because it's our own weakness. It's our own perception that is wrong. Like the business in itself is probably perfectly good given where it's going to go. It's just that, the number of times we think, oh, this market's not big enough, or this approach is wrong, or I mean, God, all those things change, right? So it's A plus people, good enough business, and perfect deal terms. I also believe, because of the way we work, that we have to get ownership. We always take board seats or board observer seats because we are very active for at least a decade. We want information rights, pro rata rights, and quite often people are like, wow, you guys ask for a lot. And I'll say, yes, we do ask for a lot, but we're going to give you everything. Like we are 24/7. We are a human API that will pick up the phone any day of the week, any morning, and we are going to want to go to battle with you. And so we do ask for a lot, but we give more.
I love that. I'm curious at that early stage, you're saying one person, an idea, or just like early founding team, you'll invest. What does a near perfect team look like for you at such an early stage? Is it really just founder, co-founder type thing? Would they have
That's a great
earmarked
question.
people? Yeah.
We're still trying to figure the team thing out. So I'll tell you my shortcut because I don't know. So think this: you have a human with all these traits, and another human with all these traits. And now imagine a third founder and even a fourth co-founder. We won't invest in five, but we'll do up to four. Imagine the complexity of this decision. We now have to analyze a CEO, a CTO, a COO, or a CPO, whatever this thing is. I will tell you honestly, we have not figured out the magical mix of what those 2, 3, 4 humans should be. So our analysis is this. We look at this 2, 3 person team and we say, hey, who do we think is the real leader on the team? And I'm not going to go tell the team that. That's not our job. That's our own internal assessment. And sometimes you get teams where you're like, I think the CTO is actually the true leader. And someone else thinks, I think it's the CEO. But we will make a decision to say, hey, we're going to underwrite this person. Or if we're not sure, we'll say, hey, we need to underwrite two of them. So the way we look at it is we underwrite one or both of the key leaders of a team. And only one of them has to pass our assessment, provided we don't see a dysfunctional team. So we do look at the nature of that relationship. And if we're underwriting you, we also have to believe that if things go poorly, you are willing and able to stand up and be that leader when things go poorly. So that's sort of our simple shortcut is you might come to the table with 2-3 other co-founders and you're the CEO. We're really underwriting you. If you truly do have a strong co-founder, then we're underwriting one or both of you.
Got it. You mentioned before about the founder character and problem solving, right? That they matter a lot more than those traditional metrics. But what does character actually mean to you in the investment context? Is that what you're talking about now, like stepping up when things go wrong, or
so character? Yeah. So we break everything down into 4 domains: vision, intelligence, character, and execution. So just to give everyone context, vision is that magical ability to look at the world and tell people what it should be, and to project that to all your stakeholders, and to really own that vision and to own that leadership component of setting vision for people. Intelligence is pretty obvious, but we have 6 domains of intelligence that we analyze, from IQ, EQ to problem solving and more. Character is your strength as a leader. It's your ability to lead people through hardship, the inevitable hardship that's going to happen. It is that leadership that you need to carry yourself and others, right? It's not just about you being strong enough, but it's about you being a leader and wanting to rally other people and getting them through that hardship that's going to happen. It is the most complex domain that we analyze. It has the most number of traits in it. But if you want to dumb it down, it comes to, do you have the inner strength to endure hardship and bring others through that journey with you? In execution, the last component is all about your ability to make decisions and get things done in chaos quickly.
What are the red flags that tell you that a founder might be brilliant but not ready to lead a company through that chaos?
Yeah, that's good. Red flags happen first. So our process obviously starts with a no. So every time we meet, and we meet about 10,000 people a year, AI screens out about half those people, and the other 5,000 get a call with us. It's a quick call, 15, 20 minutes. We have just dozens upon dozens of red flags that I've learned over the years. If a team has just one of these, we don't move forward. And there's so many edge cases where it's like, well, should that really be a no? And the truth is, yes, it should mostly be a no. There's always the odd edge case, but we have to interview thousands and thousands of people. And we really are designed to invest in those unknown, unnetworked, just the people that are incredible if you spend the time to get to know them, but they're probably not high signals. So we have to spend a lot of time getting to know a lot of people. The red flags are endless, but I'll tell you a few that come up a lot. There's the founder who has optionality, who like, I could do this, but if that doesn't work out, I've also got these other good ideas I could do. And yes, we all evaluate things, but when you come to me, you should have found that thing that you're like, man, it doesn't have to be your life's mission, right? I think that's a really high bar, but you should have spent so much time on this thing that I can tell you're going to bed at night thinking about this thing. You're not hedging your bets thinking, if my avatar dating business doesn't work, I have a marketplace for garden tools that I'm about to launch.
Yeah.
So I want someone who's just like really, really in it. And when I talk to you about your business, you have, even if that business is 2 weeks old, 2 months old, we want to meet people very early, but really good founders, once they realize this is the thing they're going to do, we can engage in this idea maze where I can keep asking you question after question after question. And there's no end of this dialogue, right? You have imagined and dreamt of all these edge cases and permutations about the customer and the product. And even if you haven't, you've done so much work on everything around it that you can quickly think, and like we can just have one of those amazing discussions. it's one of those great litmus tests, which is you talk to someone about their company, and you start getting into the theoreticals and the what if this and what if that, and you realize like there is no end to talking to this human about what they're doing. And that's also one of the other tests, which is, it's like almost the art of investing part is you talk to someone the first call and you realize, wow, I really want to talk to that person again. And you have a second call, an hour, and you realize, man, that was fast. I could do this. Let's do another 3 hours. And you realize every call is unlocking so much about them and their passion, what they're doing. And that's, you can't really quantify that. It's that feeling that you develop after talking to literally tens of thousands of people over a decade. You start to realize which founders are right in that one element of what we analyze. So red flags of people not being intensely passionate about what they're doing, not being all in on their business, not having high enough standards, having poor judgment, not taking agency, right? Like we look for people who, even if they had hardship, even if they came from nothing or nowhere, or even if they were born with everything, they realized at some point that they are actually the pilot of their life and they're the one in control and they're navigating their life, right? We don't want people who think that they're just, the world's going to push them along. We want people who fight the current, who thrash and like get what they want. We want those kind of people.
Yeah.
And you meet
Yeah.
people that kind of, I wouldn't say they're late. It's not even late. It's just, you get this sense of like who's really in command of their life and has high agency. And we want someone who's a 10 out of 10, like high agency. I'm going to make this thing happen. I've taken control of my life. And you see that, like great founders, they start to exhibit that in their teens, right? They might even exhibit it in childhood, but we kind of start analyzing around middle school, high school. And great founders take true control of their life, usually in their early years.
So interesting. I haven't heard of anyone else that goes in this much depth and that far back when they're talking to founders. It's pretty interesting to think about, and also obviously those signals are so important for resilience and determination. And even like you, when you went into founding your own company, burning the boats and just going all in, I think says a lot to the type of founders that you're looking for or want to invest in. Your model, does it still allow for single partner conviction with early checks?
That's all it is. First
Or is
check is
all
one
yeah.
part. Yeah.
Okay.
We have 7 partners. Any partner, even our most junior partner, can write a check. Everyone, even the junior folks, have what we call a silver bullet. And so the general partners, the senior partners, everyone can say, hell no, we don't believe in this. And you as a junior partner can do a deal using that silver bullet.
Why is that so important when investing in high risk early stage companies?
So this is my own decision. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's worked for us, which is the amount of information it takes for us as a partnership to analyze you. If we're just taking a product lens or a tech lens, I think it's much easier to say, hey, we want to have 2 out of 5 or a majority. But like when I do a deal, my job is to be really in deep with your whole life. Like I should know your life from middle school till today, hardship, and that amount of information, trying to take that and make every partner or a majority of partners understand your life would be impossible from a team of our size looking at this number of deals. So the thought I came to years ago was it's too much work. It's too much information for all the partners to get this deep with each founder. And so it's it's our job to pick partners who we trust, to give increasing trust as you do more deals and show more success. So you simply have to become convicted in the person, write up your memo, write up some of these memos are 30 pages. I mean, we're writing mini biographies on you. And it's in our assessment is a scoring system across all these 38 traits. And we have to write examples. We have to write little mini stories about your life that validate each one of these attributes, and we have to rank you. And so we try to convey that. We want you to have a journal. We have this running journal every time we interact with people. And if you get to conviction, we as a partnership are going to debate it. We're going to debate the business, the person. We're going to question it. But when we do that founder meeting, the job is, this is not an interrogation. We used to have more of an interrogation style where it's like red team, or you call it blue team, gold team. But we used to come in very adversarial, and some partners would kind of not attack you, but really dig into your background. We realized that's not the best experience for founders. It doesn't get the storytelling out. So now we've modified it where a partner, anyone, can do a deal, and you bring them to the table, you do a fireside chat, and your job is to tell this person's story, help them tell the best story possible. And we will ask questions, but it's mostly you telling us their story. And then after the fact, we as a partnership will ask a lot of questions. We'll war game it. We'll do those really hard questions after the founders are off the call. And at the end of the day, once we've attacked it and dissected it, if you still want to do the deal, then you do the deal. And it's not like all six gang up on the one, but we'll have scenarios where I've had scenarios where the whole team is against me. And I realized like, oh, I had a time where they saw something I didn't, and I thought about it, and I didn't do the deal. Sometimes I have 5 or 6 against me, and I still do the deal. And we have times where Jordan and AJ and Laura and others have done deals, and half the team or most of the team is against them, and they do the deal. So first check, you as a partner have to believe in the founder. Every check after that, a majority of us have to vote to do the additional deals, because we come in at pre-seed. We can also bridge you. We can do your seed. The only thing we can't do is lead your A and beyond.
Okay.
We can write $5 to $30 million checks at A, B growth round, but those are us following other funds. We really put our first money in at pre-seed and seed. But every check after the first one requires a majority of the partnership to believe in the person. Because at that point, you've now been with us for months. Maybe you've been here a year plus. We have listened to the partner. We have a whole diary of all these. We all work under one system. So we have a whole diary of all interactions. So you as a partner, if you want to put more money into a deal, you now need to educate the rest of the partnership about why this team is great. And we often cross-pollinate. We will get junior partners or other partners onto our deals. So quite often there'll be a main partner and a backup partner, and we're all learning each other's deals at the same time.
Got it. Let's switch gears for a second, because I know you're spending a lot of time right now around physical AI and robotics, things like that. What do you believe why do you believe that this is the right moment for that kind of category?
So first it was watching AI build software so effectively that we thought, one, software is not going to be that much of a moat. There's not that there's no value, but not as much value. And then second, when you look at world events between COVID and national security, there's a huge drive to build a home, or at least to build an allied area. So that renaissance of manufacturing is hitting strongly. And third, the cost and the tools to build hardware have come down dramatically. It's much cheaper for sensors and robots, and there's a lot more knowledge about how to do it. So we're in a world now where physical AI is really blossoming. We started doing it 5-6 years ago. I think the next 20 years is going to be dominated by physical AI. And that is everything from autonomous space robots and harvesters and construction and medical tech. We're going to see robots and automation all across the world.
I definitely agree. Which is why I'm so focused on it myself.
Yeah.
What makes robotics and autonomy investment fundamentally different from pure software investing?
I mean, so many things. First, quite often now you're trying to find a team that knows how to do hardware and software, right? It's not like you just build robots. If you just build robots, then nothing happens. So you have to have a founding team that understands enough about the hardware and enough about the software. The fascinating thing is, we're in this world where I'm sure you see the same thing. You're meeting just thousands upon thousands of brilliant software and hardware engineers that are getting together, right? That fusion of mechanical engineer and mathematicians and folks studying physics paired up with software engineers. It's fascinating watching what they're building together. And all of that, whether it's sensor systems or it's manufacturing techniques, is all building up also to people who are building the actually applied robotics, the things that do deliveries, the things that can do surgery and build homes and pick fruits. It's an amazing time. But you have to find a team that can do software and hardware. And then the other part is, you're making these really static bets, right? You have to go out there And I really believe the best hardware teams build really leanly, just like software. But it's not as lean as software. But you have to figure out what is the MVP robot or thing that we can put out there to test with a human. And so the biggest mistake we see people make is they have a bomb of 100K or 200K. You're like, hey, can we figure out how to do that with 3K or 5K?
Yeah.
And then as your business starts to grow, you have to make these static decisions and say, okay, we've taken all of our knowledge. We're going to make a bet on V2. And you put out V2 and you put out 10 of those or 50 of those V2 robots and you test it. And every use case in every business is different. We have maritime autonomy, space autonomy, delivery robots in LA, manufacturing systems, but you have to look at your business and decide, hey, now is the moment that we're going to put together and do a V2. And when are we going to do a V3? And every time you put that in, you have sometimes massive NRE that you're putting in that just, you're going to be done with it. You're going to spend the money and you're hoping you're right, but you're not perfectly right.
Yeah.
And it's not like software where you get to be like, hey, we learned these 3 things, so let's change that today. You're accumulating all of this debt as you're building, and you're like, hey, we're going to fix that. And the other thing is, these robot companies aren't just the robots themselves, right? You have to make decisions on the people that make them work. Sometimes that's how you pick them up, how you fix them, how you move them. These are not magical machines that work out of the box. So you've got usually you have a team of people, operations, that do all the things that your robots do poorly. So you have humans making up the gaps. You've got process, right, that connects the people to the machine and the machines themselves. So you have people, process, and then the robots. And these robots have the hardware, the software, this long supply chain of parts and repairs that you have to make. So as you start to do these businesses, you realize, one, we as VCs can actually be very helpful because we see a lot of patterns, right? And we can introduce you to founders who've solved or at least addressed these problems in the past. But it's completely different from a software company. And the hardest part is like you build a robot and then you go put it out in the real world. Sometimes that
Yeah.
real world is literally the streets of a city, and sometimes it's a factory. But the real world has a habit of kicking the shit out of what you thought was going to happen. And you have to
Yeah.
get founders who are really focused on, hey, I'm going to build something quickly. I'm going to put it in the real world and make sure it actually works for my customer.
I think trying to find, and I'll be curious how you actually dissect that, but trying to find a team or founders that you think these guys, these girls, they really understand reality, right? What it takes to deploy a robot, to have it work in the real world, the ups, downs, the different versions, the BOM costs, all of that stuff. Because I found with robotics, there's always this weird bridge between like R&D and academia and then real world deployment, right? And
Huge.
yeah, and I'm curious on your perspective there. Where do you think academic robots can fall short, or even the teams when you're investing, because they are obviously so cutting edge, some of the stuff they're doing, and like hugely impactful for the industry. But when you're putting money in to get a return, that can be a slippery slope, right? At a certain stage or with a certain team.
Yeah. And that's where like we say no. So I'm usually looking for cheap ass robots. And my theory is I don't want to fund exquisite systems. Even if they're needed, I don't want to go fund the $5 million satellite. I want to build the $50,000 satellite. I don't want to fund the $1 million humanoid. We funded a couple of guys last year building $1,000 humanoid robot. Right? It's like, and they were able to iterate so quickly and get it in market. That $1,000 robot is going to be in the real world building a data moat far quicker than these $100,000, $500,000 robots. So one thing we really focus on beyond founders who get their robots into the real world is to also look at the business and say, hey, let's find people building cheap robots. And sometimes we meet founders whose ideas are, we're going to do this amazing thing with a $100,000 robot. We ask them, have you thought about, like, given what you're doing, maybe you could build that robot for 5K or 10K? And it's not about so much the cheapness of the robot as it is that cheaper robot, we can iterate so much more quickly in the real world, right? And really put
Yeah.
it closer to software than the $100 or $1 million robot.
How do you pressure test whether something can survive outside of the lab? Because there's all this hype with, great
You just have
demos.
to put it out. You just have to,
Yeah.
you have to do it. I mean, that's the, all of us are taking that risk of, but you also want that founder, right? That founder who's willing to go build that thing quickly and put it out there and realize like, oh, my underwater robot sinks and my,
Yeah.
my delivery robot crashes into shit or its wheels break after 2 months. Like you just have to go out there and be willing to put it in the real world. And you can see that when you talk to founders about how they spend their time. I don't want academic geniuses. I want brilliant people who want to go put their stuff in the street and work with customers. And right, if yeah, it just you have to get a sense of that is not natural. If someone's inclination isn't like, hey, I want to be in the fields, I want to be in the factories with the robots. If they want to be in the clean lab, right, working on circuits, like that's not the people that we want. We want people who love the excitement of putting like we funded this company Coco 5 years ago, and we just had some massive breakthroughs. Like we're doing fully autonomous end-to-end deliveries now. It is insane. It took 5 years and $80 million to get there. But when I first met these two guys, they took their first robot and they put it on the grounds of UCLA to watch frat kids. And the videos were hilarious, but just to watch frat kids beat the crap out of this thing like a pinata trying to get food out of it. There's no better test than a bunch of frats on a weekend trying to beat up your robot.
I wanted to ask you about that actually, because sidewalk level autonomy, it kind of sounds simple to a consumer, right? It's slow, it's small, it's probably cheap, etc. But it's obviously incredibly complex. What do you think general public underestimate about robots operating like dense urban environments or in campuses and things like that, apart from the abuse the robots sustain?
Yeah. What people underestimate is a couple of things. One, they forget that that robot actually has to move quickly. So if you're doing like logistics, right? And in our case, we're doing logistics for Uber, for DoorDash, some of the biggest brands in the world. The metrics that I can't get into, but essentially, you have to be able to move quickly. We have to do deliveries better than humans. We have to do them faster than humans, and we have to do them cheaper than humans. Right? It's not a race to parity. So that is incredibly tough. When you start thinking about the complexity of navigating a sidewalk, going through an intersection, getting the drop off right, making sure the right order's in there, you have to do all that at speed. So making your robots work at speed and keeping up quality and cost is incredibly hard to make that work. The other part that I think most companies forget, especially if it's a delivery robot or any robot that's in the public domain, is your robot has to work in the public domain, right? You have to go and talk to City Hall and you have to look at the impact of your robot on the sidewalks or on the bike lanes, right? It's something that Bird and many scooter companies and those bike companies did poorly is they never thought about how is my thing going to work in the public domain. And that's something that Coco and many other companies who are doing stuff in the public domain are thinking about today, which is how does my robot coexist with this city and operate positively with the community? Because if you make an enemy of your community or your city hall, you're going to have caps on your business and you're going to do very poorly. And,
Yeah.
and that's something that citizens don't have to think about. They just have to think of like, is that robot parking in the bike lane? Is that robot hitting my dog? Is that robot blocking the door? You start doing, and this is, it makes sense once you talk about it, but if you become a nuisance or a danger to the public, your robot's not going to have a chance.
Yeah. So true. You mentioned with the Coco's timeline, so it was like 5 years, $80 million to get to this point. When you're backing from an investor standpoint, a company with that kind of long technical arc, how do you stay patient while you're still pushing for progress and supporting them?
I mean, look, the journey is, Brad and Zach are amazing people. I think, yeah, I'm not great with patience, except that I know it's incredibly hard to go from teleoperation to true autonomy. And we talk all, I mean, I talk to every one of my founders, I talk to at least monthly. And some folks like Zach, and we have a weapons company called Aurelius, and Noda, and a maritime company called Havoc, and many more. I talk to my founders all the time. So it's business and it's a friendship. Like I am really fascinated by the journey that they're taking. And every one of these companies had just incredible adversity they had to overcome. And I'd say maybe the problem solving kind of, it's like you're constantly solving problems with Havoc, with Coco. So, but you see the progress. But yeah, it's not fast. It is very slow. It's you think about, like, we now have robots that go and do miles of navigation completely autonomously, right? They go and they pick up a hamburger, they drive a couple miles through LA traffic, dodging vehicles and people and dogs and cracked sidewalks, and it's completely autonomous. And that sounds simple until you realize the billion things that could get in your way. And this doesn't happen over an hour. Like, this is a high speed delivery, faster than all the humans, safer, cheaper, and better in every aspect that all of our companies measure. And it sounds dumb, but we've created something that no longer, like, we can literally scale the entire world's deliveries on Cocos now. We can do food, we can do supplies, we can do medicine, and many other things that we're working on.
So cool. As companies like Coco scale globally, what types of leaders and hires become critical for them?
Yeah, so once you get out of startup stage, I mean, there's so many things you have to hire. But one is, if you're in the public domain, very early, we have an amazing guy at Coco, but you have to bring in someone to do government relations. If you're going to do anything in defense or in the city, inside the city streets, you need it very early. The CEO has to do it first, but you're going to quickly need someone who knows how to work with the city and the people in the public domain. You're going to have to start to figure out things like supply chain, like beyond us. Like, early days, Coco they had an old auto shop in East Santa Monica, and there was a dozen people that sat around literally hand building robots. That works in phase one, right? But then you're like, hey, we're going to build 100, we're going to build 1,000 of these. You now need to go. Eventually, we went to an amazing supplier in Taiwan, that you're going to have to figure out supply chain. And then, it's just is incredibly complex.
That's awesome. You talked about Havoc there as an example as well. And I'm curious what they understood about speed and market urgency or even execution that drew you to them as an investment.
With I'd say Coco's a great example, and all these, and also Havoc. But Coco, when I met them, they had their robot literally sitting, I mean, not sitting, but deployed in the university nearly from day one. And their business model originally was like, hey, we're going to buy stuff and put it in our fridge, and then someone's going to order a sandwich, and we're going to take $1 sandwich and sell it for $5. We're going to take a $3, $5 pizza. And the business model evolves over time. But It was watching them put it in the real world. Havoc, we funded these guys literally at inception stage. 3 months later, they had a couple of $20,000 fully autonomous boats in the water for the Navy. And it's just, you gotta see speed, right? People that are academic are never going to work, right? You have to be smart, but more so, you have to get your robots in the public domain. So when you meet someone, you realize they already have it. They have a clunky version in the street. And when you talk to them about what they're focused on, what they're going to test, you realize their whole world is engineered around getting this thing in the physical world.
Regarding defense, obviously you've got your own defense background, etc. And now you guys invest in there. Do you think that defense tech's becoming more founder friendly, or is it still brutally difficult for startups to navigate?
It is. I mean, look, there's any idiot can fund defense, and reality has proven that true. So there is no barrier to investing in defense. Now, whether you actually understand the big picture, whether you have a network, whether you can actually add value, like 95 to 97% of these people doing defense probably don't know what they're picking and definitely can't help. But that's also not bad. Like, I'm a big fan of our private market funding the national security. I think that's a great thing. But as a founder, I think a lot of founders really have to question who they're taking money from, because there are a ton of tourist VCs that don't know the first thing about helping them in combat, in a battlefield, with the right connections, how to navigate acquisitions, how to do like, there are so many people that can put logos on a screen and talk BS, but who know nothing. And then there's also great VCs who didn't know anything, They decided we're going to go invest in defense, and then they did the hard work and hired the right people. So this is true of everything, right? Whether it's mobile or it's cloud or it's manufacturing or it's defense. Defense is just, I think, a little bit harder because for most people, I mean, how many people do you know that went and worked in the military or had a passion for national security? The answer is like very few of us actually do this thing, but it's suddenly become, other than it's become the hottest thing after AI for VCs to invest in. And yet 99.9% of VCs never had the guts to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting perspective, of course. And when you're evaluating who you're going to take money from, you've got to take all of this stuff into account. Before we wrap, I want to ask you a few questions about building a company, building a team after the check, because you're clearly not just writing a check. You're actively helping founders become the CEOs that they need to be and build that team as well. What do you think the biggest gaps you see when technical founders step into that leadership role? Like maybe they have a co-founder that's stronger in leadership, but they need to develop themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, there's so many different types, right? But there is a common problem where you get exceptional technical leaders who didn't have to lead teams. Now, that's not true when you get CTOs that had to grow. Like CTOs eventually grow to lead big teams. But if you're dealing with founders where the technical co-founder didn't ever lead a big organization beyond a few, engineers, the ability to lead and manage people is often a big gap. That's probably the most obvious one. Is you often find, and it's not that they're incapable, but there are CTOs who literally have no desire to go and lead people, and there's also probably an equal amount who love the prospect of building a team. They just never had the chance to do that. So early on, I like to find this out. And when I back a team, if it's a CEO, CTO, one person doing business, one person doing tech, sometimes you get too technical. We will never fund two business people or three. There has to be someone technical on our teams. But if we find a CTO early with that co-founder, we'll ask them and figure out, is this someone who wants to scale to be a leader or not? And if not, that doesn't mean we won't do the deal. If it's a good business leader, we will fund them. And at some point, we'll investigate with CTO again and say, hey, do you want some mentorship? Would you like to grow into a leadership role? Or do you really want to be like the mad scientist who really works on the coolest tech? There's also a great role there. So I don't require CTOs to have to be the people who scale to be the CTO of our IPO company someday. You can be an incredible co-founder, technical founder, and be someone who doesn't want to lead hundreds or thousands of people. And by the way, now that AI is around, I don't know that we even need CTOs who want to lead hundreds of people. But it was something we used to deal with. But even so, you will find CTOs who want to lead and those who don't. And both are equally good decisions as long as you're honest. And if you do want to lead people and you never had experience, then we need to start with mentorship. And we can get you that. We just did that for one of our companies who has an incredible engineering leader. And they just raised a big round. And he's now starting to get the mentorship from other senior technical leaders of like, hey, how do I inspire and how do I lead? And what do I have to think about now that we're going from 10 to 50 engineers? Like it's very possible. So I think that's number one is you get people who are great technical, great engineers that have never led people. And now if they don't want to do it, don't force a technical leader to have to be be the people leader. That is not a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
I think another big one is you get people who are very good at the hacky, make it happen fast, right? Make it happen quick. And we want that, right? We all want the people that can build the robots that work in the real world quickly. But then you have to start to transition to, hey, how scalable does this robot need to be? How reliable does it need to be? And you have to start to think at what phase of my business am I? And you have to get people who maybe think beyond the fast, hacky, just make it work to like, is this the most sustainable way? Does it work within the economics? Does it work within what my customers expect? Does it work within the public environment? And sometimes you find engineers who just don't also they don't like that part of the business of the practical, like how are we going to make these things scale up? How are we going to make them work within the business model? And if you see that, then you definitely have a problem.
That's good. What roles do you think that founders, robotics space or any actually tend to hire too late?
Um, sometimes it is software, and we always have these. We like people to be mostly vertically stacked, but we're going to build it in house. I think a lot of you don't want to see people depending on other people's software. Sure, LLM's great, but we really tend to invest in people who are going to build most of what they need in house. And when we start to find very hardware centric founders trying to outsource all of the software and all the AI or doing too much of that, that's almost always a huge mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, look, just do the work, find the right person to own AI, someone to own software. It may not be comfortable for you, but you got to do it.
Love that. Well, look, Paige, we're at time, but I have so much more that I could talk to you about. So many more questions to go over, and you are obviously a fountain of knowledge in this space. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show and sharing all of this. Thank you. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Before you go, how can our listeners find out more about you and Outlander and keep an eye on what you're doing?
People can always shoot me an email, hit me up on LinkedIn. I respond to everyone. If you follow me on LinkedIn or message me on LinkedIn and it's something important, like, hey, I'm a founder, I'm building something early stage, or hey, I'm a VC that likes to do stuff in physical AI, I will respond.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll link all of that in the show notes and hopefully speak to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg.